without doubt, everyone who was along that trip got a good feel of what Haiti is about, got a good feel of what Haiti can be like, and got a good feel of what can be done to make Haiti the kind of place that it should be.
Okay.
For the year, we pay rent for the full year at one time, right?
Yeah.
So we pay $1,500. $1,500 per year.
Yeah.
$1,500 good for the year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, when you get there, the first thing you see is the crowds, the crowds, the crowds, the crowds. It's like if all 10 million Haitians were in one place at one time. This endless throngs and throngs of people, and the squalor on the street, the garbage, the dirt, the squalor. You couldn't but wonder how could people adjust themselves to that. But people do. People adjust themselves to their conditions. But it is a sad commentary, I think, to some extent, on the state's inability to deal with that sort of thing, to at least clean the place up, to make it sanitary so that it doesn't impact people's health. Being hungry is one thing, but having conditions that do not lead to disease and whatnot, that is a whole different thing.
Everything we've done is forgiven. Everything.
And so what I'm struck by as I get there is how many people are on the street trying to make a living and the conditions in which they're doing it, the squalor, the stench, the dirt. That is what strikes me most when I reflect.
On day one of the trip, we were headed to our guest house, the Paco Breeze Hotel. And there's these young fellas cleaning the cars on the street. Our driver and guide and translator, Manuel, gave some of them a 5 gourd coin. And I took that as an invitation for me to give them a dollar or two. So I pulled out $2 American. And I gave one to one boy and I wanted to give the other to the other boy. But the boy who I gave the first one to grabbed it out of my hands, just snatched it, and they began to argue amongst each other. And at that point the traffic began to move again and our driver began to drive, and one boy grabbed onto our car and began to chase, and held on and chased us for about 3.5 blocks. Professor looked back and goes, "That boy's still chasing us." $2.
What's
Where I felt warmth was in the people themselves, particularly in the countryside.
Depuis matin, doudou, si t'as sur boulevard, on va payer les moins, on vient côté où. Magdou Babout, chérie, yon bête pour des pieds moins. Ça fatigue, ça déboté, ma pin koto mami, comme tout pas dégager moins. Maman la John, on va prêter mon petit peu d'agatou. La caille moi boutan pour tirer bête là oui si mais la caille là bête a pas manger on t'a plié la caille moi bête a pas de blé papa connaît mamie comment pour tirer bête là soul oui t'aimes bête tout on va dégager moi dodo bonne moi bête tout on va dégager moi boutan ma vie ouais
I remember we'd walked into a village, a huge village with probably thousands of houses. When we first got in there, we were taking pictures and doing some video work, and they weren't too comfortable with that. But Professor ended up getting a connection with one of the leaders in the community, so it all worked out. My responsibility during the journey, for the most part, was to take pictures, and that I did. But I'd always scurry away or get away by myself sometimes while the group was back there talking to some individuals. I would always try and go a little bit further and see what I could find or whatever. And I remember I had separated a little bit from the group, and I found these three fellas sitting on a concrete step or couple of concrete steps. So to the left is these three children sitting on these stairs, right? I'm basically right here. And to the right is this ledge, and a crevice is right beneath it. You see what I'm saying? And that crevice is just flooded with trash. Just trash for days, just going and going and going. And right there is a mother and a father pig with 8 little baby pigs just laying down next to him. And these kids are maybe 5 feet away from that, engaging in conversation with one another and communicating with me, maybe 5 feet away from this, from the pigs, from the trash. All of a sudden, you know, amongst this communication, we hear, and we see a rat, a 6-inch, 7-inch rat just scurry up the side of the wall and keep it moving. And no one jumped. No one was afraid. No one was disgusted. No one was surprised. This was every day.
Pays al krasé même li pe souffler li kon se ka il pral déchouquer de toi ti branche chaque feuille tol qui s'allie ti moun crier maman pas même gelet qui s'am ka fait moi-même qui s'am ka fait nous-même ka chanter nous ka relen ka parler ka avancer ou pas ka di ou pas ka ouais dans mon l'ange moun Jacmel l'ange moun Kenskov l'ange moun Labadi l'ange moun Haiti faut dire Haïti pas fini Haïti pas fini pas quoi ça c'est pas vrai non faut dire Haïti pas fini Haïti pas fini pas quoi ça c'est pas vrai non faut dire Haïti.
Excuse me, miss. Ah!